Mario Kart World is about to become the most expensive side order of french fries in history, and I think we're about to find out if this game is worth $80. Now obviously, if this is your first time tuning into one of my videos, you may have not heard my Mario Kart is french fries analogy before. Basically, to quickly run through it, I've had this opinion prior to the console's launch that Mario Kart World is actually not a good launch title, and I still stand by it. The reason I say that is because I don't think people buy Nintendo consoles for Mario Kart. I think they buy Nintendo consoles for another reason, whether it's Wii Sports, Breath of the Wild, Smash Brothers, or really pick and choose any other major franchise that sells just under what Mario Kart does. And then whenever they do grab that Nintendo console, the first no-brainer game that they decide to purchase because they bought the Nintendo console is Mario Kart. And because of this, Mario Kart regularly tops the charts for best-selling game on a Nintendo console, which makes it similar to french fries, usually one of the best-selling items at a restaurant, if not the best-selling item at most restaurants. And it's always picked up as the first side of choice for everybody, but very seldom do people actually go to the restaurant specifically because they want french fries. They go there for the sandwich, they go there for the steak, for the burger, for the wrap, for the sub. But no matter what takes you to that restaurant, you get the fries. And just like french fries, especially with the Switch 2, you get a very good discount because you get the combo meal and the fries come pretty much included, which means that even more people get to experience the french fries. And look, it's not to say that some people do not go out there and specifically head to a restaurant because they want french fries, but most people are getting the fries on the side. That's why, generally speaking, there are no entrees of french fries. They are known as a side of fries. And quite frankly, that's how I feel about Mario Kart. It is perhaps the best side somebody could order, but you're usually at the restaurant for something else. And now with Nintendo officially ending the production of the Mario Kart World bundles, or at the very least halting them, I think these probably will come back every holiday the same way that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe did, I'm expecting a massive drop-off in sales for this title. And it's kind of unfortunate because the used market for Mario Kart World is really gonna stink for a while. Because the reality is most people that have this game now because of the bundle got it digitally, which obviously was Nintendo's plan from the get-go. So now, at least for the foreseeable future, you're going to have to rely on people buying Mario Kart World at $80, eventually getting bored of it, and then deciding to sell it on the used market, until you can finally find enough people willing to get rid of this game at a decent price. This is in comparison to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which sold so well on the Nintendo Switch that pretty much any year that you decided that you wanted that game, you could easily get a physical copy for like $30. And often if you were buying a Switch 1 used, somebody would give you the copy of Mario Kart with it. But for Mario Kart World, I don't know if that's going to happen. Not immediately, at least. And I think that Mario Kart, being a very casual-heavy game, or a casual-focused franchise rather, will actually suffer from how many people love Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and how affordably cheap they're able to grab it for, and especially as more and more of these casuals decide to upgrade their Nintendo Switch 2s, if they own a copy of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, they might see the $80 Mario Kart World and just completely swerve away from it. Because the reality is, what we've seen during this holiday season when the casuals were coming in to buy the Nintendo Switch 2s, they didn't find Mario Kart World as a game that would convince them to buy the Switch 2 at the $450 price point. And I actually think that's a very big reason as to why the Switch 2 did not sell so well during November and potentially during December once we get those numbers. The bundled title was not appealing enough. For the casual audience, it's just Mario Kart, and they have Mario Kart at home. So if that game couldn't convince them to get the Switch 2 in the first place, what's to make people think that those that eventually do decide to buy a Switch 2, that now all of a sudden they would find the $80 value of this game worth it? Because I just don't see that happening, especially when you consider the terrible image that this game has, and the awful word of mouth it's had ever since Nintendo started forcing the intermission tracks down people's throats. It's obvious that the sales of Mario Kart World have completely inflated because they were bundled in for $50. And honestly, $50 is probably an appropriate price for a game like Mario Kart World. But $80, and you consider that the hardcore Nintendo enthusiasts that decided to buy a Switch 2 have already purchased a Switch 2, I'm just going to be very intrigued to see what kind of prices Mario Kart World goes down to. I don't think Nintendo's going to drop their price on the eShop. They might offer like a small discount every now and then for it, and that discount will probably take it down to like $71.99. But I could see retailers dropping Mario Kart World's price. But it is going to take quite a while for that to be reflected. While they have ended the production of the Switch 2s, given that it's had such a slow holiday season and video game console sales usually tend to slow down over the early months of the following year, I think there's going to be a lot of Switch 2 Mario Kart World bundles just hanging out at shelves, probably at a $50 lower price than Nintendo wants it to be, moving very slowly over the next few months. So it won't be an immediate impact that we see the sales of Mario Kart World slow down, because the standalone title has already slowed down enough to not be in the charts, obviously, since most people did decide to buy the bundle because of the value there, especially this holiday season where Mario Kart World was basically free. But at some point in the not too distant future, maybe when we get to June, when all of the retailers finally run out of stock, there are going to be a lot of people going to the store deciding to buy a Switch 2 eventually because some game is announced that's worth it for them, finally. And where in the past they would have looked to the side to see what games they can buy in addition to it, they're gonna look up and they're gonna see Mario Kart World for $80. And they're not gonna have been part of the online discourse for the past year and a half, so it's gonna hit them like a shocker. It's like all the people that freaked out because they realized that Mario Galaxy was for sale for $70. Or the amount of people that recently bought a Switch 2 and then looked over to the shelf to buy an additional Zelda game with it and saw those sitting at like $80 and $70 too. And then of course, this is the same reason why Metroid Prime 4 is not selling nearly as well as it should. The same reason why a spin-off title like Kirby Air Riders has already fallen off every single Western chart, even though Kirby has been doing phenomenal through the entirety of the life of the Switch 1. With Nintendo's software sales being completely carried by a bundled title through the first 7 months of the Switch 2's life, I genuinely wonder if what people were saying prior to the launch of this console was true. If there were many people that indeed basically just bought the Switch 2 in order to play their Switch 1 games at a better performance. And in that case, I wonder how satisfied that crowd is when they realize that most of their Switch 1 games actually don't run better on the Switch 2. Especially in the handheld where the resolution is not coming out at 1080p and it's a worse LCD screen, so it's actually a worse experience handheld. But then again, for the casual audience that already owns their Zelda games and they already own Mario Odyssey, they might have gotten what they wanted out of the Switch 1 upgrades. But regardless, it's going to be very interesting now to see how Mario Kart World actually fares in the wild. Sonic Racing Crossworlds has had an absolutely phenomenal start to its holiday season after its price drop, and it managed to sell the first million units from 70 to 90 bucks, which is something that you can't say about Mario Kart World because it was being sold for 50. And it managed to do that without being the hype title for a brand new console. And now that the price has gone down, the Nintendo buyers have flooded towards Sonic Racing Crossworlds. And the crazy thing is there are still people holding out for a full physical version of Sonic Racing, which comes out in early 2026. For the Switch 2, of course. Western markets have really adopted Sonic Racing, especially America. And if Sega keeps these discounts and these prices low on Sonic Racing, with both Mario and Sonic having very high market appeal right now because of their movies and all their ventures and successes in the recent years, there are going to be a lot of casuals looking over at that shelf, seeing Mario Kart World for $80, seeing Kirby for $70, and then seeing Sonic Racing Crossworlds for like 50 bucks, 40 bucks, whatever it's discounted at during that time. And it's going to be a no-brainer for them to grab the cheaper game, especially if Sonic Racing Crossworld continues to do this well. Because all of a sudden, maybe the French fries are too expensive. And when you put another kind of fries next to it that's cheaper, like maybe the curly fries that can curl up into a blue ball right next to it, the casual market may find that much more appealing. But still, I'm going to be very intrigued to see how this goes. And to be clear, for those of you that have lasted this long in this video without already saying something in the comments, understand that this does not mean that I think Mario Kart World will be a failed game. I just think with this $80 price tag, it's going to have a lot more difficult of a time seeing the heights of success that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe did. It will still outsell Sonic Racing Crossworld, but Sonic Racing Crossworlds will take away many of its sales, something that would be unheard of a year ago. But that being said, as with everything, we'll have to see how this plays out as time goes on. In any case, thank you so much for listening, and I will catch you on the next one.